Dom, wait, what is this? Thorin, Dom, and the fan feedback loop.
This
Here it is.
video, like most on my channel, is brought
Wait, what
to you
is
by
this?
what delicious energy formula. That's right, it's Gamer Subs. You should know by now, and you can always get 10% off Gamer Subs.
What is this?
By using
Wait,
my.
Thorin made a video on me yesterday? How did I not see this?
There's a phenomenon that's going on with Dom for the last couple of years, IWillDominate, that I've seen play out so many times. That's played out with me, it's played out with Monte Cristo, it's played out with LS, it's played out with every thinker or content creator in esports, but especially in League of Legends. And the exact same cycle happens. So basically, it's why I called this Dom and the fan feedback loop. Because essentially what happens is, when you give your opinions, obviously people hear those opinions, interpret them however they like, they respond via comments either to you or about you on the internet, on social media, and by reading those comments, even if you're someone who has a really strong mental frame, or you're someone who says, oh, I don't really care what other people think, or, I'm going to stick to my opinions, it will actually affect you over time, and it will actually potentially push you, sometimes a tiny bit, sometimes a lot, and it will make your behavior then change a little bit, which will then continue on in the cycle, which then the fan will react to.
It's true. I saw something that Thorin said where it's like, I actually have gone soft in a way. Like, I don't go as hard on the idiot opinions as I used to, because it's just like, I already just see the whole process every single time. And what it is it's like, when you experience the same process a million times, it's like, I know when I say certain things, what the response will be, like what the feedback will be. And it just becomes like almost something where it's like, do I really want to do this for the millionth time?
Slightly tweaked behavior. And so, and a classic example of this, by the way, is essentially fans can radicalize you, if you want to use that kind of terminology. Obviously, we're talking just about video game opinions here. Hopefully, you're not killing people or doing anything illegal, but they can make it so your opinions seem more and more extreme, but actually, they're not as extreme about the topic, which is part of the problem with the phenomenon that I'll get into, but it's actually this feedback loop, and the fact that fans are misinterpreting or skewing or exaggerating what you're saying will then make your response to them more emotional, more angry, more kind of high energy, which will then make the whole thing gain this kind of toxic energy. So it'll seem more and more out of control. And the worst thing is, especially if someone is a fan who doesn't know what fans have said about you and this cycle, they will just see sometimes your clip in isolation, or that might be the first time they've encountered you talking about that topic, and then they will go, wow, what an emotional response, or he really doesn't like that person, oh my god, he's such a hater. And so then the feedback,
it's true. It's like when somebody comes in and asks me about the format. Like, if you ask me about the format now, and I've literally explained the format 150 times, and now it's like the 1,000th time, at some point it's like, god damn, bro, like, why is this guy so angry? Like, why does he care about it? It's like, some people just hate getting asked the same question a million times. Like, some people just hate that type of stuff.
Just gets completely out of control. And the worst thing is, it'll make the original dickhead fan from way at the beginning of that feedback cycle actually seem more justified, because they've basically fucked with you and pushed you and gaslit you so much that eventually your response to them gaslighting you, since you're talking about it through the medium of the player they like, the team they like, a result in a tournament, will make it seem like you're bringing that energy to that player, that team, that tournament, that result, not this fucked up cycle and the fan base that's doing it and gaslighting you. So basically, one of the people I actually noticed this with, I'm not even going to use myself as an example until later, is actually Monte Cristo. Because the reason why I bring up Monte Cristo is this. To me, Monty was quite edgy.
Just clip your response and make it a command with a clip link. Chat, I've said this so many fucking times. There is no counterplay to idiot fans that don't want to go out. Somebody who comes in and instantly asks a question that's probably been asked a million times. Like, they know that question has probably been asked, but they don't care. They have no idea of where to find the information. Like, they're never, like, I've tried everything. I've tried making a command. I've tried making it a pinned comment in the chat. I've tried literally putting things on screen where there'll be a command. I've tried making YouTube videos about something that was happening to try to get people on the same page. It's impossible to get people on the same page. If people don't want to be on the same page, they won't be on the same page. Still to this day, I still can't get people to understand that, like, when I live view LEC, I can't show the game, right? And that's been 5 years. I have something on screen. Like, when I do my live views, right? I have on screen the live view site. I had commands, I had pinned comments, everything. And it's like impossible. Like, it is actually just impossible. These people do not care. They're not going to spend time. If they spent any amount of time, they would have an answer to their question anyway. They don't want to spend any time.
League of Legends esports, like 2012 or something like that. At the time, almost everyone, I mean, Riot hadn't done that much fucked up stuff, to be fair. Almost everyone was kissing Riot's arse. They all wanted to work with or for Riot. Ronti was a rare person who was working for a third party, or GN in Korea. He wasn't working with Riot Games. And so as a result, he was actually one of the few, like, I wouldn't even say contrarian, because it's not like he was doing it to be against everyone. It's just that no one else could have their real opinion, or if they did, their opinion at the time just happened to go in line with what Riot thought. Oh, they were all very naive in the industry. At the time, he was considered quite edgy, and there could be like drama about him. But the drama was stuff like he was trying to host a tournament and TSM didn't want to be a part of it because Reginald didn't like him, or he didn't like Reginald. Or then he was associated with CLG players and eventually a coach of CLG. So then it's like he's on the CLG side and we're all tribal and we're on TSM, or we're on this other team or whatever. And so as a result, at the time, he was considered like, oh, it's a bit edgy. The joke is, I've always said to Monty, one of the things I've done for all my friends in esports is, well, I'm always more edgier than them, aren't I? Or I'm more willing to say the watch stream thing, or that I'm...
It's hard to make me the most hated person in the league community when Thorin exists. Like, think about how much more hated I would probably be if Thorin didn't exist. Like, I would just be the one that gets the Thorin treatment perma.
To say the thing that I think privately, that maybe people say privately, but then they don't say it publicly, or they couch it differently, or they use euphemisms, or they're a bit softer with their touch, whereas I'm a bit more blunt. If anything, I sometimes even go the opposite way, and I'm just very transparent with what I think, right? And don't sort of softly couch it or put a lot of flowery language about it or make a lot of disclaimers to make... So the reason why I bring up Monty as an example is because as the years went by, first of all, there was way more people who were edgy than Monty. Actually, if anything, I think Monty's gotten more and more professional, more polished with how he even addresses things. And it's not really, unless something really like outrages him or he's personally pissed off with people, that he tends to do what I do, which is, I've always said, we both give our takes, but when I do it, I put more mustard on the hot dog is what my analogy is. Monty's just sometimes is just the plain ballpark Frank, or maybe there's just a little bit of grilled onions on there. He's not putting the works on, as it were, like I am. So I've always thought, when people have these extreme reactions to Monty, like they act like Monty hates Faker, or Monty's biased against Europe and Fnatic, or Monty doesn't
Monty is like the
LP,
original, like the whole thing about Monte Cristo is that he was the Korean fellatio enthusiast. He was the guy representing Korea on every broadcast. He was like the guy shouting about how amazing Korea was, how much better Korea was than every other region. And in 2025, we have now turned Monte Cristo into somebody who's a Faker hater for just saying accurately what history was and what the current landscape of things looks like week to week. Like, that is what we've turned it into. So, I mean, it's actually just impossible to win unless you just like shut your mouth and you just let fans be psycho.
Then it's like, mate, at this point in time, compared to like actually people with extreme opinions, Monty is basically just like a blank cipher or vessel that you're just projecting like your necessity for a villain onto. Basically, you're just deciding every horrible opinion about like that other fans or other content creators that you don't happen to be talking about or thinking about onto Monty. You go, he's the hater. He just despises Faker and Reginald and Bear. And why is he so biased? And so basically, what I noticed was Monty just got gaslit by all these fans for years and years and years, different fan bases around the world, that he just hated their player, their team, their region. And people just kept telling him he hated them over and 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 over again. Even though, as far as I could tell, like with TSM, for example, TSM's probably the closest Monty's actually ever come to hating a team. And it wasn't ever the team, was it? It was the fans who were doing that. Reginald, the owner, who directly fucked with Monty, and indeed even lied about him publicly, by the way, and done all sorts of outrageous shit that we knew behind the scenes and revealed some of. And maybe the odd player who went along with that bullshit, Loco, when he was a coach, and he did. I wouldn't really say Bjergsen ever did. In fact, if you don't know, Bjergsen and Monty actually had quite a friendly relationship for many years and would even meet up and have dinner and talk about books and stuff, even though this was in the height of like, oh, you all hate TSM and they despise you. Like, it was TSM versus the world era of
How do you not hate
them,
all these fan bases, though? Like, to be honest, I don't understand how people can exist in esports, see the behavior of all these different fan bases, and not come to the conclusion that they hate the fan bases at the end. Like, just really think about all the fan bases that the majority of us just hate. T1 fan base, TSM fan base, K-Corp fan base, Mad Koi fan base. How can you not come to that conclusion when you see this type of behavior? Like, also, it's like, when you're creating a fan base like that, you've done something wrong along the line. If, like, for example, somebody like Boss says, oh, this guy is boosted, man. Like, he's saying it like as a joke, like on a stream, like, oh man, this Targamas guy is so boosted. Like, he's just joking around with like his boys, right? He's on a couch, he's joking around with his friends. And then the response is to give him, like, when he is getting death threats consistently for days afterwards, like people are actually saying, we're going to come to your house and kill you because you like said this thing about one of our players. Like, you've done something wrong in nurturing your fan base. Like, that should never be the response.
So when I saw people do that to Monty, I always used to think, like, he doesn't even vaguely hate those people. I mean, the joke in the modern
And it's about proportions, right? Like, okay, Los Ratones fan base is huge. It's probably bigger than those other fan bases, right? But if you look at Los Ratones, like, there is like a certain amount that you think would be like, okay, there's going to be a portion of like psychotic, mentally ill Los Ratones fans because there's so many people in it, right? But the amount of people that are like mentally ill about Los Ratones is a much smaller percentage compared to K-Corp fan base, compared to Koi fan base, compared to T1 fan base, compared to TSM fan base. That's why I don't have beef with Los Ratones fan base, is because it's like, I accept that when you have a huge fan base, you're going to have, it's like if I have a chat, you know, like, I don't know how many people consistently watch me. I'd say out of unique viewers a month, it's like 700,000 to like 1 million. I'll get like unique viewers a month. If I had like 10 of them that were crazy, it'd be like, okay, bro, what can you do? If Los Ratones has 20 times that, 20 million unique viewers, and there's like 1,000 people that are crazy or some shit like that, like, that's fine. Like, that makes sense. But what's crazy to me is like the proportion of psycho fans in these other communities. Like, it's just like, bro, it's like 10% of the community is just completely mentally ill.
The idea Monty hates Faker. In what context? You understand, what? Monty was one of the chief architects of Faker's Western career narrative. Like, he was there casting the first game the guy played. Then he was there at Worlds, the only one on the desk picking T1 to, like, give you a break. Like, this guy, again, he was thick as thieves with Faker for years and years and years, until guess what? Till Faker wasn't the best anymore, until Faker stopped winning, until Faker sometimes actually could be the reason they lost the series or not be good enough to win them the series. Then he hated him. Oh no, not hated him. Sorry, what you mean is he just actually had critique of Faker, or said Faker isn't the best, or said Faker played poorly in certain scenarios, or Faker could have done more, or a better mid laner might have won the game. Now, to a moron, to a shithead fan, yeah, that's hate. Because they're so deluded, they think the default state of a normal neutral person is to worship and irrationally love a player or a team. No matter how they're playing, no matter what they've done, no matter what they say, you just love them and you act like they are actually a member of your family. That's how this parasocial relationship. They're either your best friend, your dad, or your fucking brother, or in some cases...
Yeah, people have like, they delude themselves into feeling good about this type of behavior. Like, when people go and they death threat people... Like, when a random fan sees Targamas get flame, and he's like a KC fan, and then he goes and he death threats Boss, like, what he thinks is that he defended his boy. He's like, I defended my guy. I did something good. Like, they feel good about this type of behavior. Like, that's the most psycho part. It's like, if I death threated somebody, like, I've never fucking death threated somebody. Like, back in my day, you would just, like, call people names and shit, bro. You just, like, flame them. Like, you just... call them in fucking 2005 when I got on the internet, like really got on the internet, 2004, 2005, you would just call people like fucking names. You'd say like the F slur at them. Like, that's like what it would be. You would not death threat people. Like, that was like always just like fucking, it was corny to me, because it's like, you're not going to do anything. Like, what do you, like, you're not going to actually find somebody and kill them. So it's just like, when you death threat somebody, it just seems so fucking cringe. It's like, okay, you're just trying to like scare them or so. Oh, I'm trying to scare you. It's like, you just call them a fucking slur and move on. You know, like, that's how it was back in my day. But like, now it's like people death threat and they feel not cringe about it at all. They're like, did it fucking well. Like, how do you not feel like a piece of shit, or just like, oh man, I'm just like, I hope that doesn't come back to me. Like, how do you not have that feeling when you go out and you're just like harassing people like that, or trying to like intimidate people like that on the internet? How do you not feel like such a fucking massive loser?
Your girlfriend or your boyfriend, if you see how people react to people like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, bro.
Second instead of first is hate. To say like,
bro, I'll be honest, the fucking internet was way better back then, in my opinion. Like 2004, 2005, all the way up until like maybe like 2013, 2014. That shit was peak. That's peak internet. We have now fallen off, and it just became like, I mean, that was before social media was super big. You got like, if you were around and you experienced both, this is just objectively worse.
like they played badly in the game, you must just hate them. If you think that actually someone else played better, you obviously just love that guy and just hate their play. So you can see how it's actually them projecting their insecurities onto you. And crucially, part of why they're doing it is to allow the feedback loop to go in a satisfying way for them. Because if you did indeed hate that player, that team, that tournament result, then them being the virtuous one who doesn't, first of all, they're counterbalanced against you. And then also it fuels them, doesn't it? Now they have someone to point out, like a wrestling heel, go, oh, fuck you, you're the one who hates him. Oh, people like Monty and Dom and Thorin, of course, who hate this player, this tournament, this team, and this result. Like, that's what they do. So here's the reason why I think it's insane that people gaslight Dom, that he just hates these players and teams. First of all, he obviously jokingly leans into the idea he's a hater because he's smart enough to understand with a narrative like that, it's actually cleverer if you control it. And one of the ways you can control it, it's a bit like an improv class. By the way, very cool little tip. If you're ever talking to a girl in a bar, try this trick. They say something silly, do the old classic idiom, play silly games, win silly prizes. We actually have a similar one in English where it says something like,
oh, so this is the part where he's going to start talking about me. Okay. We'll watch this after draft.
Like shit testing you, prodding you, trying to test
my
something.
night
He says something
P.
like,
Diddy's freak off in my recommended. Honestly, I watch a lot of this channel. I don't know if you guys know Soft White Underbelly, but I do watch a lot of this channel.
All the girls.
I can't even say like that shit would be interesting to me. I would want to hear what that shit was like.
You don't go, oh no, I don't, like, and I didn't even mean that as some sort of like a forward statement. I'm actually like a really cool guy if you get to know me, and actually I'm very loyal and I don't just womanize. No, what you do is you go, just the last 1,000 or so, but you're the first one it worked on.
Yo, what's up, Apple?
You do some shit like that. You sort of do a yes and like improv. You just make it fun. You go, you know what? Fuck it. If you're going to exaggerate, I'll just make it actually like absurd. Like, yeah, you know what? Oh, I'm actually the greatest faker hater of all time. In fact, I actually prey on their downfall all the time. Which, by the way,
that's literally what it became.
Really clearly doesn't work if you've watched enough of Dom's content, because actually Dom still has Faker as the GOAT, best of all time. If you actually ask him, he'd agree like Faker was clutch in these worlds they've won. He always credits them when they win worlds. He's even one of the people, actually, compared to most other people, who seems to warm up to T1 as they make their worlds runs, whereas actually some of the rest of them.
For example, last year I literally was, when T1 qualified as 4th seed, I said that I thought they were going to make top 4 at Worlds, and that like I put them top 4 at Worlds when I did like what I think will happen. I went on a call with Cage Roll and I described why I think that they were going to get top 4 at Worlds, and I thought that they had the potential to win when they were at their absolute lowest. So that was my actual analysis of T1, but people just like throw that out, obviously, because it's bad for the narratives, right?
Are in denial until the bitter end, until they lift the fucking trophy, aren't they? I think Dom's actually done one of the best jobs I've ever seen of having the opposite career to what people say. People make out like he started really cool and just a cool player. Then over time, he just got bitter and jaded and old. Actually, what happened again is they're projecting they got bitter and jaded and older. But no, it's Dom that did that. And then by the end now, he's just some irrational piece of shit hater who just churns out hate content. It's the opposite. Like, actually, Dom started as like a player, just giving any old opinions and having crazy, like, shoot from the hip shit. And then he actually, over the years, learned, like, content creation. I'd even say almost like certain aspects of how you address things journalistically. He's actually fairly responsible. And if anything, I actually would think he goes out of his way, sometimes to a fault, to be well-balanced and sort of, like, give credit where credit's due, but also address things. At the same time, he'll address like banter and do a little bit of like over the top on camera stuff, but then he'll also come with the real analysis.
True.
And the real take and who actually played well in that game and who could have done other things. And so to me, it's never been like that. People have just gaslit him that he hates these teams and players. And one of the reasons why it's so gross is another area that Monty and Dom have a similarity is it's the other way around. Like when they actually watch someone play at a high level and accomplish something great, it actually transcends whatever petty personal feelings they might have about the person or generally even these things about fans. I actually say they're some of the most fair people I've ever met in esports at showing their commitment to excellence. That actually what they essentially revere.
Hey, respect. Thank you.
Above all, is high-level play, in this case, in League of Legends. They love high-level play, and crucially, they hate low-level, or I'd say poor play. Like, mistakes, obvious, like unforced errors, to use the tennis terminology.
Unforced, I 100%. I hate that shit.
So as a result, you know what? Within that context, yes.
Hey, Apples, if you go watch my video watching you guys win, when I watched you guys win LEC, I was happy to see you guys win. Like, I'm happy for the team. I like the KC team. I mean, like, you're somebody who I've talked to. You're obviously a coach for KC. I've always liked you as well. Like, I just think that the fan base is just ridiculous, and obviously like I'll say antagonistic things towards the fan base and stuff, but I do like seeing the team succeed. There's nobody on the team that like irks me to see win.
Teams who are overrated, like in different time periods, TSM in North America, Fnatic in Europe, fucking T1 in Korea.
Yep. These
teams that are overrated and don't play at a high level are going to irritate him, just like it irritates Monty, because these are people who've watched a billion games. They've watched the best players of all.
I mean, Thorin is, this is exactly what I think, and this is how I feel. So, I mean, Thorin's right on everything he said about me here so far.
Time. They've watched so many cycles
of
league.
It's true. Like you see the reason why I like hate watching Fnatic play is because I feel like the stakes are so fixable and so dumb, and they're capable of just like committing towards a higher level of play easily, and they just don't do it for years. So it just pisses me off. Like, it just is what it is.
Different teams.
It's just like stupid League of Legends to me, bro. It's just dumb League of Legends. Like, I think Casey in their first split played smarter League of Legends than Fnatic has played in the last 5 splits. I mean 2.5 years. It's actually been more like 9 because it's the new LEC format, but you get the point.
That as a result, their standards for what excellent players and how good a team can be and how good their coordination and strategy and laning and team fighting can be is higher than the average casual.
Bro, I got all the all the fucking coaches in here. God damn it. But I've told you this, Grabs. I've told you this shit to your face, bro. I'm not talking shit behind your back. All right? It is what it is.
Fan, they just don't have the same experience. What's impressive to them isn't as impressive to a Monty or a Dom. So what happens is when these overrated people don't play at a high level, stupid fans from the team or fans of the player he's addressing go, Dom just hates that team and its players. No. What Dom hates is, one, poor play and low-level play.
I agree.
Expecting and hoping for high-level play. By the way, if Dom has his choice, I guarantee he would make a wish if he had unlimited wishes and make that be an awesome game and make T1 play their best ever and make Faker play his best ever and make them actually have a chance to be the best team of all time if they can be. He wouldn't choose to have the downfall, have a bad game and some scuffed game and have Faker just go fucking in on Corky and into and then bashes them.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the one of like the finals that pissed me off the most, that sparked one of like my biggest rants, was the Fnatic versus G2 final, because like I hated that both teams were playing bad and then like G2 just wins. Like if Fnatic played really well and G2 played really well and then G2 ended up winning because they're a better team, I'd be happy with that. But I hated watching it feel like Fnatic is like better individually, but they're just like so mentally broken that they can't actually win the games. Like that was just so triggering to me, bro. Like, I don't know. It's like, can we just get some good League of Legends, please?
He'd never choose that. Well, it's such a mad thing to even imply he would, by the way. So when these stupid fans try to imply he hates the team of the player, no. He's reacting in an angry or an irritated manner to you, the fan. But what they do is, because they themselves over-identify with the player of the team, they even go, we or us, or he just hates on us or us at T1, because they over-identify and act like they're on the team or they're being represented by the team or the players. They believe that Faker shit, like, this one is for you, guys. This bud's for you. They actually believe that fucking shit for some reason. Then, when Dom doesn't like them, not Faker or T1 or anyone like that, they act like he didn't hate on them because they're identified with Faker, with T1. They act like he hated on Faker or T1, which is absolute fucking nonsense.
I mean, what I always just try to say is, like, what do you think the players think when, like, so for example, last summer split, I was criticizing Faker because he was dying 1v1 in every single AD carry, like, mid matchup. Not every single one, literally, but colloquially, he was dying and losing lane all the time. And it's like, when I'm like, yeah, Faker is playing like really bad individually, do you think that like Faker is sitting there like thinking like, yeah, I'm playing actually really well? Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting hated on for no reason. I'm playing really well. I mean, there's a reason that Faker stopped playing 80 mids, even when 80 mids like were still kind of pickable, and like Chovy, who was really good at 80 mids, was still playing 80 mids. As soon as he could not play 80 mids, he's like, I'm not good at 80 mids. I should not play 80 mids. I don't know what fans think the players are thinking about when they're like analyzing themselves.
By the way, if Dom hated on Faker and T1, he should have been having a field day with that thing of Faker hitting his head off the wall. If you actually hate Faker, you'd be loving that. I don't know anyone who did, by the way. I actually found that very alarming. It's a bit like the thing where I think Whipple's a bit of a dickhead and has said plenty of lies and disingenuous things about me. But I'll tell you what, when I saw him going off before Worlds about all those teammates and sharing all like clearly things that were behind the scenes told him in confidence and looking like he was having some sort of psychotic break, that wasn't funny to me. I couldn't even like hate watch that. I was watching it thinking,
To be honest, like, it wasn't as clear to me that he was having, like, the thing is, I've talked to Bwipo a lot, and he just has been like that a lot. So to me, it wasn't clear that, like, Bwipo was having a psychotic, like, break or something.
Like, someone reach out to this fucking guy. Like, he's clearly in distress, by the way. This isn't actually, like, cool behavior. It reminds me, by the way, of when you see, like, Kanye West go and do all crazy shit on Twitter or on some talk show. You just think, mate, what's going on in your life? Like, these aren't the actions of someone who's, like, got a message for the world. This is someone, like, lashing out.
Yeah, see, like, I think I eventually realized that it was that. But when I first saw Bwipo going off, I just thought that Bwipo had held that in for a while, and then he, like, won. So then he was just, like, showing him his real self once he won. That was my original, like, when I made, like, the video, or when I first reacted to his content. It took a while for me to, like, realize that it was maybe, like, some type of, like, mental issue. I just thought that he just wanted to, like, stunt on people now that he finally won.
Everyone, by the way, and any thought that comes into their mind just tumbles out, and then they have to suffer the consequences of that when they're more sober or they're in a situation where their emotion comes down. So the idea that he hates on these people, no, he hates on you, you annoying motherfucker.
Yes.
You disingenuous, gaslighting bitch. That's who he hates on.
Yes, actually, yes.
Way, just
dude, that's what I said. That was actually a quote from Last Worlds. I said, I don't hate Faker, I just hate you. You know? Like, and that, I mean, that is really what it is. I don't hate Faker. I just hate you.
Bible, if you see the way those fans behave towards him. Then one of the teams or players he said is overrated or didn't rate as number one. T1's a great example. Faker's a great example. They just won Worlds. Faker was fucking dope in the last two games of the final. Yep. When they do play well, when they play high-level League of Legends, do you know what proves that Dom and Monty love that aspect more than everything? Because then someone like Dom and Monty will like it. Then they will glaze him. If you go back to 2022 spring, or 2023 spring, by the way, where actually T1 was the best in the regular split, they just didn't win the finals. Dom is fucking all over Faker on this one. Monty's going all over Faker and T1. They're loving that fucking style of play. Actually, if you don't know, Faker himself was having like a little renaissance in 2023 spring. He was looking way better than he had for years. These guys will go crazy with the fucking wax lyrical, glaze, whatever modern terminology you want to use. Just basically like just going on and on about how great they are, what's excellent, what they do. That's not what a hater does. A hater diminishes. A hater has an excuse for everything. A hater dismisses. Spoiler, T1 fans do it all fucking day long. It's about Chovy or Gen G. They exhibit all that behaviour. Dom and Monty didn't. They are actually honest to a fault in that sense. But here's the problem. To a moron, you just hate him though, and you're just seething and you wish he'd played badly. It's just not true at all. These people, they don't follow the game to just hate on your team. Like, grow the fuck up. I mean, the joke is half of these dickheads support exactly the wankers who do just hate on people in the community for fucking clicks like that rival fucking imbecile, or the people from the Score Esports, or like Wooloo. You all support those fucking people, you dunces, because they just glaze you and kiss your ass the whole time. So one of the worst things in this case is it's just projection. Fans, like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've watched a decent amount of the rival content, and to me, it just seems like that guy is just a big grifter. I just get weird energy from him. It seems like he tries to, like, every time that I see a rival video, it's always like him waiting. It's like, what does the community think about? What is the prevailing sentiment? Doesn't matter what the prevailing sentiment is. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Which way is the wind blowing? Okay, I'm going that way. With anything, you know? That's like the whole idea of his content, which I just have a hard time respecting people like that, as opposed to people that will just say what they think about a topic honestly and just have the value like that. Because I'm honest, that's what I try to do, right? Like, I try to make sure that, like, okay, if I have an opinion that's unpopular, but this is what I actually think, I'll know it's unpopular. I know that it'll be bad for me to say it, but I'll still say it because I feel like the people that watch me are trying to, like, because I have so much experience in the game, or I have so much experience in the industry or whatever, they want me to, like, filter whatever the situation is through my brain with, like, the experience and the, you know, the knowledge of the community, and, like, take value out of that, as opposed to me just telling people what they want to hear all the time, or like what's the point of me just telling you what everyone else is telling you? Like, I don't get that, you know?
A lot of humans, to be fair, seem only able to model other people's minds. Their theory of mind is they're just me. They're just another version of me. In this case, they're a stupider version of me because they don't know that Faker's the best at all time. So as a result, since they
That's
only
every
care
super
about
popular streamer ever. Yeah, I mean, and like, I fully acknowledge that the way that I am with stuff, I will never be the most popular streamer, right? there was like some study that they did about this. I forget what it was, but there was some study that they did where they determined that the popularity of a TV show was determined the most, like the factor that determined what would make a TV show the most popular was the amount of people that it offended. So the less the amount of people that a TV show offended, the more popular it would be, which is why there's, TV shows like sitcoms that were like kind of lowbrow, but they were like very unoffensive and mild, and those would be like the most popular shows. That was like what the study actually showed. So I think it's kind of a similar way for streaming, where it's like the people that are the most popular are the ones that offend the least amount of people, generally.
Player or that fucking team or that result. They act like, by the way, personally as well, they'll act like that's what Dom and Monty do. Since they want the player and team they don't like to play badly and have low-level matches, if it means their guy or their team gets to win, then that's what they put out into the world. They are the haters. One of the things I've always said, it's one of my witty lines, is in esports, you don't actually really have fans, because fan implies like, I'm just a massive fan of this person. No, what you have is like someone who's a fan of one team and in most cases a hater of every other team. So they're actually, if you look at their like net behavior, are just a hater. They're not there because they love their team. They spend most of their time hating on the others. Like, if you think about it, you must know a million people on Twitter, if you're like in Europe, for example, who are like a Ronaldo or a Messi fan. Do they spend all day posting amazing, interesting things about Ronaldo or Messi? No. What they do is just get 24/7 into flame wars with people who are fans of the other player and saying how shit that player is now overrated and how you've always exaggerated him and he didn't win this tournament. Oh, but what about this one? And then what about this one? It's actually the hate they get off on. Like, they're the ones who do that. They're the haters. By the way, just look at any T1 fan when they're talking about Chovy or Knight or Scout. You'd think these people were subhuman trash who literally couldn't even press a button against Faker in lane or in the game. You'd never believe, if you heard a T1 fan, that Chovy was like 4-time champion in a row. You'd never believe he was being called the best player in all of League of Legends by like...
I feel like there's something that's good about the story as it is. Like, I think that if you tell the story of like Faker honestly really struggling in summer and being like generally bad for his standards, for being an elite mid, he was bad in summer last year, and then he was able to like get it together and be super clutch at Worlds, and then he won the world championship at a time where he probably had the least likelihood of winning a world championship, just by being like the most in the moment person, where it's like no longer does he have the immense skill advantage he used to have. Now he has like a mental competitive advantage. If you tell that story, I feel like it's more compelling than if you just lie about it and you say he was the best the whole time. Like, to me, that's why I think it triggers me so much when people just tell, it's like, oh, well, you just didn't see that he was playing super well even in summer because you're an idiot. I feel like it actually takes away from what the story was. And it's like, yeah, if Chovy was the person that was like super good the entire year, he was like probably the best player in the world for the entire year, and then he fell short at the end. Then going into next year, like, let's say something else happens. Maybe he's able to finally get it done. If we're just accurate about the stories, I feel like the content is good enough as it is, But it just feels weird to like feel like you need to be disingenuous about it in order to like get the most fans.
Majority of experts, you'd never think this was possible. You would actually think for real he was like fucking some like Fear X mid laner the way they're talking about him, or someone who plays for like Thunder Talk or something. You would actually think it was some like overrated player who just had like a few good games. It's them, it's the fans who ignore inconvenient or unpleasant facts and context, not people like Dom, etc. They might address it in a humorous manner, but I found people like Dom and Monty, again, to a fault, will address public criticisms, community sentiment, even people gaslighting them. They actually will even do the thing I think goes too far, where they actually go out their way to be like, I'm not doing it. Again, they try to defend themselves when you don't have to. You're defending yourself to a disingenuous fuck who doesn't want to hear it anyway, would never listen to you, and will just go, oh, who cares what you say, you fucking hate? You're just saying that now because they won. So that guy's a waste of everyone's time. And what's funny is, this might blow your mind, because I've actually never had anything particularly personally against Travis, and people don't know I actually thought he was a mate for the first few years. I used to work with him. I've been up to LA a few times to meet him. He's just one of those people where we just have a very different type of tone to our work. And I will also say, I think I've had him on my content in the past, but I think he gets a bit insecure in the sense that he feels like I'm almost like mocking him or something, or I'm like not taking him seriously. It's not true at all, actually. I think I've always been able to transcend any differences we had in our professional careers and actually connect with him as a person. But one thing Travis told me years ago that I've always repeated, because I thought it's just a banger fucking analogy, is he said when I was getting super popular already, I know this might blow your mind, this is going to be a key concept. When I came along, that was a few years after Travis. So I came along and initially I was doing interviews. So what was the first thing everyone did? They went, wow, wow, who's this new British guy? Wasn't even on camera. Doing these amazing interviews that are in depth. They're much better than Travis's, because of course Travis's are just fucking like, you know, like shallow, and he doesn't like do his research, and he doesn't know like all this extra stuff about it. He's just interviewing players that he's friends with. So what they did is, one, they used me, the new guy who was novel and doing something different, as like a cudgel or a cosh to fuck with Travis and be like, you're not as good as this guy. Spoiler, that phenomenon plays out again and again and again and again. I mean, the joke in the modern days, people now do that to Monty with to say, this Cadrill's the fair guy and the good guy, but Monty's a biased hater. They used to say that, by the way, about me, that me and LS are the haters, but Dom's the cool guy who has the level head. It just changes. There's a treadmill of who they claim is the cool one, and then they use that person to bash on the person who came before them, and sometimes even put them on, by the way, and just use it like, why can't it be more like him, the other guy? So what Travis told me is, it's basically called the elastic band effect. What he told me is, it's like an elastic band. Initially, you just pull the elastic band out. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great. It's just going out. But eventually, someone's going to let go, and when they let go, the premise goes, the backlash is going to be like proportionate to what the increase was. So if you take the analogy of the band being pulled out as your popularity, the second it lets go, it'll go all the way and just do a harsh snap like that. And that's what happens. Because what happens is, people were never making an estimation of who these people are. When they parasocially get to know you, what happens is, one, famous concept, familiarity breeds contempt. The longer they know you, the more reasons they have, just from knowing you and you being part of their space and their mind all the time, living rent-free, as it were, they find things that annoy you about them, that you annoy them. Like little idiosyncrasies you have, or turns of phrase,
or like, for example, when Thorin says, the joke is, when he says the joke is, like, people get so triggered by that, you know? Or like, I've noticed it on Sackdown, when we started doing Sackdown, when Yamato, because like, when you start doing talk shows, right? What you're really thinking about is, how do I ask really good questions, right? Like, what type of questions or what type of things can I bring up with the guests that are going to be interesting to talk about? And the things that you care less about are like how we ask the question, right? So a lot of times I'll just be like, I'll just hit them with, what the question is. But one thing I used to do is, I used to say like a ton. I still say like a lot, but I think I cut it back a lot from criticism. But Yamato would always say, I'm curious about, because in my mind, he would say this. And then every comment is just about like the fact that he asked the question in the same way a million times, as opposed to the content of the actual interview. So it is something that is like, I find quite annoying, because for me, it's like, he just says that a lot, and then I just get over it instantly. But like, for fans, it's very hard for fans to like get over this type of stuff. It's like, for example, if I ever misspeak on stream, it is like impossible for a fan to like be like, because I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people they're just trying to find like the faults in you because they deem you as successful or something. So it's always like, you misspoke. It's like, well, this guy's an idiot, or he does. What do you mean, Gwen Q? Like, that's clearly Ambessa. Do you not know the difference between Gwen and Ambessa? Like, are you just some fucking type of retard? What the fuck? Like, I know the difference between Gwen and Ambessa. Like, they just do this shit, like, in their own head, and then just, like, come out of it like, yeah, I'm the GOAT, bro. These people that fucking do this commentating bullshit are just, these guys are all just fucking retarded. You know, like, this is what they come out with.
Connective things that you say, or jokes they don't think's funny, or again, they think you're obsessed too much with this player because he's their favourite player, or you don't give him enough credit because it's the team that they like, or they've supported, or they know you have a beef with someone. And so what happens is, they don't realise that what was making them love you and then use you as the example against someone else is you were novel. They just got to know you. They hadn't heard enough of your opinions to get butthurt about them yet. And crucially, you hadn't been involved in enough dramas. By the way, the number one thing people in esports love and crave and will seek out is drama. They'll all lie to your face and themselves in the mirror and tell, I hate drama. We should ignore this person. And then my video on Rickus will get 300,000 views. Or any drama video, easy, 25k, 50k, 100k views. That's why fuckers like Rival and that dickhead double guy just farm drama every chance they get on fucking YouTube. They'll just, hey, I didn't watch this video, but what if it had said this? Thank you for the 100k views. Like, that's what people want in esports. So they will just decide in the drama you're the villain and therefore you're somehow evil and causing the drama. So one of the things that's interesting to me is it is one of those sort of like you either die a hero, in this analogy you'd have to leave esports after a couple of years of being a content creator or public figure with opinions, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, because these nutter fans will make you the villain. And what they'll completely ignore is that you were ever here with an expert's eye trying to appreciate and be a connoisseur of the highest level League of Legends in the world. By the way, I'm not even, because I used the T1 example, I didn't even decide to get into the whole thing of when Western fans act like you're shitting on their favourite player because they don't watch the LPL and LCK and don't even know how high the ceiling goes. I didn't even bring that in, but that was an old school factor. To be fair, in the modern day, a lot more people, it seems like, do watch LCK. That's why it has like record numbers compared to LCS, doesn't it? But back in the day, it was a reversed ratio. LCK got way fewer viewers, and obviously a lot of them were just hardcore nerds, and it was the LCS that had all the casuals, etc. So I actually do think what people miss is it's so obvious by actually not only their longevity, you just couldn't stick around as a hater this long, guys. If you look at haters, all they can do is react content. People like Dom and Monty, they could do a show every week, in fact they have in certain cases, and just talk about the best players of all time and the best matches for hours. It's actually enjoyable to them. They clearly love the game, high level play and players and the great players in history, and most especially they love discussing the interactions of the
it is true that this is actually one of the most triggering parts of like whenever I discuss anything T1 related, people say, oh, the only reason you talk about T1 is because that's the only way you stay relevant. It's like, how the fuck do you think I got to the position that I'm in, number one? And then also, like, how do you account for the 12 to 15 years of my career before people even realized I dislike, or before I even actually, I mean, it's not even that they realized, like, before I started actually disliking T1? When was the last time, like, how do you account for the fact that I was, like, a pro player, and then I was a gameplay streamer, and then I was, like, a co-streamer where, like, I didn't have interaction with T1, and then I started hating on T1 for, like, a very obvious reason. It was because of T1's treatment of me and the fans' treatment of me. I think that is a completely rational way to dislike anyone. You know, like, if somebody comes up unjustified and treats you like shit, why would you feel like, oh, I need to like them? Why? Like, it's not like that for anyone. I don't understand why it has to be like that just because they're, like, the best team of all time.
The dynamics and the fucking draft and the strategy and what could have been done differently. These people clearly do it for the love of the game, for the love of the sport, for the love of League of Legends, but it's presented as they're just a filthy scum clout goblin hater because they're gaslit by these fans. And what these fans rely on is that when they essentially act fucked up enough, when you finally snap, when it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, to someone who didn't see them fucking with you, you'll look unhinged. So the final thing I'll leave you with is, I'll give you a quick concept. Has anyone else experienced this? I'm sure a lot of Western people must be able to relate. Have you ever seen that kid in class where they're not like overtly bullied, as in no one's like punching them in the face every day or like following them home or like ordering 70 pizzas to the house, but people just on a low level fuck with someone who's considered weird or sort of gives everyone the ick or something about them's just off, and they're not the most hated person who's super bullied, but they're not in any way liked or accepted. And so what people do, a bunch of people, is they just on a low level fuck with that person. Maybe they just trip him a little bit or kick the backs of his feet, or they just say the odd stupid comment, or when he's speaking in class or reading, they just try to distract him or whatever, or they have like a little nickname or a needle. And what they try to do is they try to do something really small that no one else really notices or acknowledges as like a big or a fucked up thing, knowing that eventually when that person's just tolerated it, just ignore them, and I'm sure they're just fucking jealous, or there's just an issue with me, or, you know, it doesn't matter how school's going to be over. So eventually when that person like snaps and like just like, shut the fuck up and stop that, or maybe even actually gets really mad and like punches one of them, they then present it like that was an out of context behavior that was the first time that had ever happened. And he's just crazy. Look at him, he's a fucking lunatic, this guy. I always knew he was, and then they use it even worse, gaslighting, to justify all the behavior they did before. See, I always knew he was fucking weird. What a fucking psycho. Wow, do you overreact like that and do that? That's exactly what these fans do to people like Dom and Monty and LS. And the worst thing is, one, it means some of these people, I think the Cadrils, I don't think Dom's that much, Cadrils really bad for it, LS has a problem with this, they feel like they have to then sort of try and win those fans over and constantly justify themselves or explain themselves to these dickheads who essentially are like a prosecution lawyer who doesn't have any interest in what's happened. He just wants you to go down for as long as possible and to win the case by any means necessary. And also, these actual people who I think are some of the best thinkers ever.
He's not talking about himself, bro. He's talking about me and like Monty mainly. He's not talking about himself. I don't know why people are saying he's a victim.
They really care about the game and would even do it for free and have it on certain occasions. Get treated like they're just some dog shit hater who just sat there with no game knowledge, no love of the game, just going, fuck the guy I don't like, which is literally what the fans who are gaslighting these people do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange situation, like, that you end up in as a content. I mean, it is true about like the snapping type thing. Like, for example, I got flamed by so many T1 fans for so long, and then one time I brought up the fan Twitter account, this like, I guess what they consider fangirl, I guess that's not derogatory, that's what they call themselves, a fangirl's Twitter account, where she posts 200 times a day about T1 and Faker. And I'm like, this is like really like weird behavior. The reason I brought it up is because this person was just like criticizing me publicly, like just saying that I'm just like a dumbass and like, oh, my takes are so fucking bad. And it is really triggering as somebody who I try to think about what I'm actually saying. Like when I go on talk shows, like during the week when I'm co-streaming, I'm developing my takes and I'm like testing things against like what I think, and then I'm developing new opinions as I see more stuff. And I'm trying to just work out what the game is on any current patch or how players are playing, what the strengths of teams are. I'm trying to work it all out when I'm co-streaming. Then when I go on talk shows, I do a little bit of review and I try to put forth like the opinions that I think are maybe the most nuanced or the most correct, or things where maybe the community believes one thing and another thing is true. And then I'll just have people reduce my opinions that are actually like, I mean, if you actually go through things that I've said before tournaments, things that have happened, they'll like pick out one thing out of 1,000 and be like, oh, this was stupid. Which, number one, if you look at the context for a lot of my opinions, I don't think I've said a lot of stuff that is just completely random and fucking wrong and just has no basis, and I'm just an idiot for ever thinking that. I don't think there's been many of those situations ever. But they'll pick things out that aren't even wrong or aren't even true, and then they'll say, oh, this guy is such a fucking dumbass, look at how stupid he is. And it is really annoying because you're like, damn, I put like time into that shit. You know, like I'm putting time into trying to be the most knowledgeable person on League of Legends I can be. Because not only do I have a team that's depending on me in some degree because of it, but also like I have an obligation to the people that watch me to know what the fuck is going on. It's still the same reason that I play the game is like when something like Neferi comes out, I want to have an accurate opinion on it. So I'll put games into that, put games into Darius and try to be like, okay, this is what I think about this. Maybe this is interesting. This is how it works, whatever. So I can provide information. And then it just gets reduced to like nothing, where it's like, oh, Dom is a hater. He thinks T1 sucks and they just won Worlds. Shows how much of an idiot he has. It's like, never once did I say that. I actually was high on T1 going into Worlds. Like if T1 was a stock, I was bullish on T1. Like I bought T1 stock at its lowest before Worlds. So like the payoff should be that it's like, oh, he was actually pretty right. Maybe that was a pretty nuanced opinion that he had. But instead the payoff is, oh, you're the T1 hater guy, so you're a fucking moron. Like that, like you thought T1 sucked because you hate T1, so you always say T1 is bad, and then they end up being good. Shows that you don't know anything about the game. And it's just annoying. So at a certain point, I bring up like a fan account. I'm like, look at this person talking shit about me and look at how like ill this person is. And it's like probably a mean thing to do. You probably should just accept that like these fans are just delusional and that like they're allowed to attack you and you're not supposed to say anything back because I have a platform, right? So it's one of those things where you're just supposed to take the abuse, but you know, it just gets annoying. And then sometimes you don't take the abuse and then people will be like, wow, this guy is so fucked up. And that's how I had that whole drama. So I mean, that is the idea that Thorin was talking about there. And I think it does actually happen.